Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Premier was unclear whether he wanted marijuana to be sold in the same manner as cigarettes, in bland packaging with warning labels and locked up behind counters, or whether he would market marijuana widely with public ads, as his government does now with liquor and their holiday scratch cards. Mr. Speaker, today I ask the minister responsible for liquor and lotteries, and perhaps soon to be marijuana, in setting the rules for the marketing and sale of marijuana, will this NDP government treat it like cigarettes and ban the advertising, or will the government treat it like alcohol with lots of advertising, including government ads on its sale?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Let's be clear, it's the Prime Minister of the country that made this one of his planks in his platform for the federal election that just passed, and Canadians elected him, and congratulations to the federal government of Canada. It's the Prime Minister that said he doesn't want children using marijuana, he doesn't want corner stores selling marijuana, and he wants to make sure that it takes all the profits away from organized crime. Clearly, we agree with all of the above. And Mr. Speaker, we're certainly concerned about social responsibility, as we have been with liquor in this province. And as a matter of fact, 2% of net is what's contributed by liquor and lotteries towards social responsibility in this province. Last year was about $13 million, Mr. Speaker. So we're very, very proud of that record of social responsibility with regard to the sales in the province of Manitoba.
Mr. Speaker, in moving to have the sale of marijuana, it's very important that we know what the government is going to do. You know, it was the Premier who ran to the media to announce that he wants to be the sole pot dealer in Manitoba before any direction had come from the federal government. Manitobans want to know what this will look like. You know, for example, the amount that this NDP government spends on promoting liquor and gambling is more than 4 times what they spend on public awareness responsibility campaigns. Are Manitobans to expect the same level of promotion from this government when it comes to marijuana? And what events would we expect to see being sponsored by cannabis?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. I'm surprised he'd call his federal leader a pot boss of the country, and I'm surprised by that, because it is the federal leader, it is the Prime Minister of our country, it's the Prime Minister of our country who brought this forward, and we certainly take their lead. It's the federal Prime Minister, that will be essentially stating the parameters around such a program about the legalization of marijuana, and we ask that we be at the table to have these discussions, like changing the liquor laws in the province of Manitoba after 60 years. We consulted with the RCMP, the City of Winnipeg Police, law enforcement jurisdictions, healthcare workers, social agencies, Mr. Speaker, and we would certainly look at doing the same and bringing those recommendations and that kind of consultation to the federal table and letting the federal government know what we've heard from Manitobans and where they want to go.
Mr. Speaker, it was the Premier and this government which jumped forward and said, we want our government and our Crown Corporation to market marijuana. You know, there are a variety of sales models possible that can maintain socially responsible regulation. Some of these models might even treat our age of majority citizens more like the adults that they are. Perhaps allowing the adults of Manitoba to make their own decisions is threatening to the NDP because of what they know that it will mean on April the 19th. Is this NDP government not willing to consider any other sales model for marijuana because they simply don't trust adults in Manitoba to make their own decisions?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I'm awfully surprised to hear the Liberal member start talking about privatizing and not saying anything about safety, not saying anything about adhering to the law of the land and listening to where the federal government wants to go, Mr. Speaker. With their model and the leader of the Liberal Party's model to privatize liquor stores and having every agency, anyone just selling pot, marijuana anywhere, Mr. Speaker, We're more interested in consulting with Manitobans, talking to people in the private sector, talking to social agencies, talking to law enforcement. We're about safety, social responsibility, making sure that the product, when the federal government decides what they're going to do with regard to the sale of marijuana, we want to ensure that we pass on all the consultation that we've heard in Manitoba to the federal government, knowing where Manitobans want to come from.